I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who would let a stranger into her home while her husband was away. But here I am, about to tell you something that's been eating me alive for weeks now. Something that's turned my entire life upside down and made me question everything I thought I knew about myself, about loyalty, about love. My name is Sarah. I'm 34 years old. And 21 days ago, my husband left for a business trip that would change everything. But before you judge me, before you close this video thinking you know how this story ends, let me tell you that nothing about what happened was what I expected. Nothing. If you're already hooked and want to hear more stories like this, click that subscribe button right now. We're so close to reaching 5,000 subscribers, and your support means the world to me. Really, it does. Hit that red button, and let's grow this community together. So, let me take you back to where it all started. My husband, Michael, and I have been married for 11 years. We met in college in Boston, fell in love during a rainy semester, and built what everyone called the perfect life in our suburban home in Connecticut. Michael works in finance, travels frequently, and I'm a freelance graphic designer who works from home. On paper, we have everything. A beautiful house with a white picket fence, 2 cars in the garage, savings in the bank. But here's what nobody sees. We haven't really talked, truly talked, in over 3 years. We've become roommates who share a bed and occasionally ask each other about dinner plans. The intimacy died somewhere between year 7 and year 9. I can't even pinpoint when exactly it happened. It was gradual, like watching a plant slowly wilt without noticing until one day you realize it's completely brown. We stopped touching unless it was accidental. We stopped looking into each other's eyes. We stopped being present with each other. Michael would come home from work, kiss my forehead out of habit, and disappear into his office. I would finish my projects, make dinner nobody really tasted, and we'd watch TV in silence before going to bed on opposite sides of the mattress, careful not to let our feet touch under the covers. I told myself this was normal, that all marriages go through phases, that we were just busy, stressed, tired. I told myself these lies for so long that I almost believed them. Almost. Then came the trip. Michael's company needed someone to oversee a major merger in Seattle, and it would take 3 weeks, 21 days, the longest we'd ever been apart. When he told me, I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. Relief that I wouldn't have to keep pretending everything was fine. Relief that I could just breathe in my own home without feeling the weight of all that silence. He left on a Monday morning, kissed my forehead, said I love you in that automatic way people do when they've said it 1,000 times without meaning. And then he was gone. The first week was actually nice. I worked on my projects, caught up on shows I wanted to watch, ate ice cream for dinner without judgment. I felt light. Free, almost. But by the second week, something shifted. The house started feeling too big, too empty, too quiet. Not quiet in a peaceful way, but quiet in a way that made every creak of the floorboards sound like a scream. I realized I was lonely. Not lonely for Michael specifically, but lonely for connection, for warmth, for someone to see me as more than just a wife who existed in the background of someone else's life. And that's when he appeared. I need you to understand something before I continue. I'm not proud of what happened next, but I'm not entirely ashamed either, and that's what scares me the most. If you're still with me, please hit that subscribe button. Your subscription helps this channel grow, and we're pushing hard to reach 5,000 subscribers. Click that red button now, and let's keep this community growing. His name was Daniel, and he knocked on my door on a Thursday afternoon during the second week. I was in my pajamas at 2 p.m., which should tell you something about my state of mind. I almost didn't answer, but he knocked again, politely, and I could see through the peephole that he was holding a package. When I opened the door, the first thing I noticed were his eyes. Dark brown, warm, with little crinkles at the corners that suggested he smiled often. He was probably around my age, maybe a year or two older, wearing jeans and a simple gray t-shirt that showed he took care of himself without being obsessive about it. Sarah Mitchell? He asked, and my name sounded different in his voice. Present, like he was actually seeing me. Yes? This was delivered to my house by mistake. I live 3 doors down, the blue house with the oak tree. Figured I'd bring it over instead of letting it sit there. The package was from Amazon. something I'd ordered and completely forgotten about. I thanked him, took the box, and that should have been it. That should have been the end of the story. But then he smiled, really smiled, and said, "I've seen you around the neighborhood. You're the designer, right? I've always wanted to ask about the work you do." Nobody had asked me about my work in months. Michael certainly never did anymore. And before I knew what I was doing, I invited him in for coffee. Just coffee, I told myself. Just a neighborly conversation. We talked for 2 hours that first day. He told me he'd moved to the neighborhood 6 months ago after a divorce, that he was a high school English teacher, that he loved classic literature and terrible action movies in equal measure. He asked me questions about my design work, actually listened to my answers, laughed at my jokes. When he left, the house felt emptier than it had before he arrived, and that terrified me. He came back 2 days later, said he was taking a walk and thought he'd check if I needed anything from the store since I'd mentioned my car was in the shop. I didn't need anything, but I invited him in anyway. We talked for 3 hours that time. About books, about life, about dreams we'd had when we were younger and somehow lost along the way. He told me about his marriage, how it had fallen apart slowly, how he blamed himself for not fighting harder. I told him about Michael, about the silence, about feeling invisible in my own life. "You're not invisible," he said, looking directly at me in a way that made my heart race. Not even a little bit. Are you still watching? If this story is resonating with you, please take a second to click subscribe. We're building something special here, and your support gets us closer to 5,000 subscribers. Just hit that button and join us on this journey. By the 3rd week, Daniel was coming over almost every day. We'd have lunch together, watch movies, talk until the sun went down. Nothing physical had happened. We hadn't even held hands. But there was this electricity between us that I couldn't ignore, this magnetic pull that got stronger every time we were in the same room. I started waking up excited to see him, started putting on real clothes and doing my makeup, started feeling like a person again instead of just a ghost haunting my own life. And then came the night that changed everything. It was day 19. Michael would be home in 2 days. Daniel came over for what we both knew was probably the last time before reality crashed back in. We made dinner together, laughed over a bottle of wine, and then found ourselves on the couch, closer than we'd been before. The movie we'd put on played in the background, but neither of us was watching it. "Sarah," he said quietly, and the way he said my name made something inside me crack open. "I know I should leave. I know this has gone too far. But I haven't felt this alive in years, and I don't want to lose it." I looked at him, at this man who had somehow become the most important person in my world in less than 3 weeks, and I knew I was standing at a crossroads. I could send him home, pretend these weeks never happened, go back to my silent marriage and my invisible life. Or I could do something I'd never done before. I could choose myself. "Don't leave," I whispered. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away, time to change my mind. But I didn't. When his lips met mine, it felt like waking up from a long sleep. Like remembering what it felt like to be wanted, to be seen, to be desired. We kissed for what felt like hours, and it was tender and desperate and beautiful and wrong all at once. That night, we didn't have sex, but we came close. So close that the line between innocent and guilty became impossibly blurred. We fell asleep on the couch wrapped around each other, and when I woke up in his arms the next morning, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Happy. And then immediately after, terrified. If you're gripping your phone right now dying to know what happens next, help us reach 5,000 subscribers by clicking that subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps more than you know. Do it now, and let's build this community together. Daniel left early that morning before the neighbors would see. We didn't talk about what had happened, but we both knew everything had changed. He texted me later. "No regrets, but I understand if you have them." Did I have regrets? I didn't know. All I knew was that Michael would be home the next day, and I had no idea how to face him. I cleaned the house obsessively, washing away any trace of Daniel's presence. I changed the sheets even though nothing had technically happened in our bed. I practiced my smile in the mirror, the one I'd wear when Michael walked through the door. But that night, alone in the house, I got a text that made my blood run cold. It was from a number I didn't recognize. "I know what you've been doing. I've been watching." My hands started shaking. I typed back, "Who is this?" The response came immediately. "Someone who cares about Michael. He deserves to know the truth." Panic flooded through me. Had a neighbor seen Daniel coming and going? Had someone been spying on us? I tried calling the number, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted again, begging them to tell me who they were, but there was no response. I didn't sleep that night. I paced the house, checked the windows, jumped at every sound. By the time the sun came up, I'd convinced myself I was losing my mind. Maybe it was a wrong number. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe I was so consumed with guilt that I was imagining threats that didn't exist. Michael came home that afternoon. He looked tired, older somehow, like the trip had aged him. He hugged me briefly, and I held on a little too long, trying to remember what it felt like to be held by my husband. He smelled unfamiliar, like hotel soap and airplane air. "I missed you," he said, but it sounded rehearsed. "I missed you too," I lied. That night at dinner, he barely looked at me. He talked about the merger, about Seattle, about co-workers I'd never met. I nodded and smiled and felt like I was watching our life from outside my body. This was my marriage. This was what I'd been protecting. This silence, this distance, this performance of connection. And I realized something that made my chest tight with panic. I didn't want this anymore. Still watching? Then please subscribe. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there. Click that button right now and be part of this growing community. Don't wait. Do it now. The next morning, I woke up to find Michael already gone. He'd left a note saying he had to go into the office for a few hours. I made coffee, tried to work on a design project, but couldn't concentrate. All I could think about was Daniel, about how alive I'd felt with him, about how dead I felt now. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Can we talk?" Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. My heart jumped. Was it him? I practically ran to the door, smoothing my hair, and pulled it open with a smile that immediately died on my face. It wasn't Daniel. It was a woman. She looked to be in her early 40s, beautiful in a polished way, with blonde hair and sharp blue eyes. She was holding a manila envelope, and her smile was cold. "Sarah Mitchell?" she asked. "Yes?" "I'm Jennifer Hayes." She paused, waiting for recognition that didn't come. Daniel's ex-wife. The world tilted. I gripped the door frame to steady myself. "I think we need to talk," she said, and pushed past me into my house. I stood frozen in my own entryway as she made herself comfortable on my couch, the same couch where Daniel and I had kissed just 2 nights ago. She crossed her legs elegantly and tapped the envelope against her knee. "So," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "How long have you been sleeping with my ex-husband?" "I haven't," I said automatically. "We haven't. Nothing happened." She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Oh, honey, I've been watching. I know exactly what's been happening in this house. Daniel has a pattern, you see. This is what he does. He finds lonely, married women. He makes them feel special. He breaks up their marriages. And then he moves on to the next one." "That's not true," I whispered, but my voice had no conviction. "Isn't it?" She opened the envelope and pulled out photographs. Pictures of Daniel with other women, different houses, different towns, but always the same story. Him smiling that warm smile. Them looking at him like he'd saved their lives. "This is from Minnesota, and this one is from Vermont. He's lived in 6 different states in the last 4 years, Sarah. Always the same story. Always a different married woman." My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the arm of a chair. "Why?" I managed to ask. "Why would he do that?" "Revenge," she said simply. "I cheated on him during our marriage, destroyed him, and this is how he's been coping. By destroying other marriages, by making other people feel what he felt. by being the other man again and again, taking something that belongs to someone else. Please, if you're as shocked as I was, hit that subscribe button. We need your support to reach 5,000 subscribers. Click it now and join this journey with us. Your subscription matters. I don't believe you, I said, but I was already pulling out my phone, searching for Daniel's name. Jennifer watched me with something like pity as I found article after article. A restraining order from a woman in Vermont. A small mention in a Minnesota newspaper about a teacher who'd relocated suddenly after a scandal. The pieces were all there, scattered across the internet, telling a story I'd been too blind to see. He's good, Jennifer said. That's why it works. He makes you feel seen, special, alive. And you are probably all of those things. But he doesn't care about that. You're just another conquest. Another way to hurt someone the way he was hurt. Get out, I said quietly. I'm trying to help you. Get out! I screamed, and the force of it surprised us both. She stood, smoothing her skirt. I sent Michael an email last night, just a heads up, as one betrayed spouse to another. He should know what kind of woman he married. She walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Sarah. Daniel's probably going to text you soon, acting confused and hurt by my visit, playing the victim. That's part of the pattern, too. Just thought you should know. The door closed behind her, and I collapsed on the floor, my phone still in my hand. Sure enough, 2 minutes later, a text from Daniel. Just heard Jennifer showed up at your house. I'm so sorry. Please don't believe anything she says. She's been stalking me for years. Can I come over and explain? I stared at the message. Was she telling the truth? Was he? How could I know what was real anymore? Another text, this time from Michael. We need to talk when I get home. I got a very disturbing email. My marriage was over. I knew that with sudden clarity. Whether or not I'd technically cheated, whether or not Daniel was who he said he was, Michael and I were done. We'd been done for years, really. We'd just been too scared or lazy or comfortable to admit it. But what about Daniel? Had I been falling for a real person or a performance? Had those weeks meant anything, or was I just another name on a list? My phone rang. Daniel calling. I stared at it until it went to voicemail. Then it rang again, and again. I turned it off. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I've been staying at a hotel, avoiding both Daniel and Michael while I try to figure out what's real. Michael has been calling, texting, leaving voicemails that range from angry to heartbroken to coldly practical, talking about lawyers and dividing assets. Daniel has been doing the same, begging me to meet him, to let him explain, swearing that Jennifer is lying, that everything between us was real. And me? I'm sitting here in this hotel room, talking to you, trying to make sense of everything. Did I let a con artist into my home and my heart? Or did I find something real with Daniel and now his crazy ex-wife is trying to destroy it? Was I the victim of a predator? Or was I a willing participant in my own betrayal? Before you answer, remember to subscribe. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers, and your support means everything. Click that red button and help us reach our goal. Do it now. It only takes a second. Here's what I know for sure. My marriage to Michael is over, and honestly, it should have ended years ago. We stopped being partners and became strangers living in the same house. That's on both of us. We both gave up, we both stopped trying, we both let the love die through neglect. But Daniel? I don't know what the truth is there. Part of me wants to believe that what we had was real, that he's just a damaged man with a vindictive ex-wife who can't let go. But another part of me, the part that spent the last 3 days researching and thinking and reliving every conversation we had, keeps noticing little things. The way he always asked about Michael. The way he seemed to know exactly what to say to make me feel special. The way he never really shared details about his life that I could verify. I found his social media finally. He's not very active, but the few photos he has posted don't match the story he told me. He said he moved here from Chicago. His location history shows Oregon. He said he taught at a public high school. His LinkedIn says private academy. Small lies, maybe. Or maybe pieces of a much bigger deception. Yesterday, I drove by the blue house with the oak tree where he said he lived. A different car in the driveway. A woman came out with 2 kids. I asked her if she knew Daniel. She looked at me strangely and said she'd owned that house for 3 years, and no man lived there. So where does he actually live? Where did he go when he left my house each day? This morning, I finally answered one of his calls. His voice was desperate, pleading. "Sarah, please, I love you. Jennifer is sick. She's been doing this for years, trying to ruin every relationship I have. Those photos are fake, or they're from before we were even divorced, or they're completely taken out of context. You have to believe me." "Where do you live, Daniel?" I asked. Silence. "The blue house with the oak tree isn't yours. Who are you, really?" More silence, then a long exhale. "It's complicated. Uncomplicate it." "I can't. Not over the phone. Meet me. Please. Let me show you that this is real." And here's where I am now, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wants to meet him, wants to believe that love can bloom in 3 weeks, that sometimes the most unexpected connections are the most real. Part of me wants to run as far and fast as I can, to start over somewhere new where neither Michael nor Daniel can find me. If you were me, what would you do? Would you meet Daniel and risk finding out that everything was a lie? Would you trust your heart or your head? Would you give him a chance to explain, or would you assume that where there's this much smoke, there has to be fire? This is where I need your help. Comment below and tell me, am I being manipulated, or am I running from something real? Should I meet Daniel one last time, or should I block his number and never look back? What would you do in my place? And please, please subscribe to this channel. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers. Click that button right now and be part of this community. I need you. I need your perspectives, your advice, your stories. Hit subscribe and let's figure this out together. Because the truth is, I don't know if what I felt was real, or if I was just so starved for attention that I fell for the first person who showed me any. I don't know if Daniel is a predator or a victim of his ex-wife's campaign. I don't know if I should feel guilty or liberated, ashamed or empowered. I don't know if I threw away my marriage for nothing, or if I finally woke up and saved myself from a lifetime of loneliness. All I know is that tomorrow, I have to make a choice. Daniel wants to meet at a coffee shop downtown at noon. He says he'll explain everything, show me proof that Jennifer is lying, help me understand. Michael wants me to come home so we can talk like adults about how to end our marriage with dignity. And I want to disappear, to pretend the last 3 weeks never happened, to go back to the person I was before Daniel knocked on my door with that misdelivered package. But we can't go back, can we? We can only go forward. And I have no idea which direction forward is. So tell me, what would you do? Comment below. And subscribe. Hit that red button and help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Your support, your advice, your stories, they all matter. Don't leave me hanging. Be part of this journey. Click subscribe now. Tomorrow at noon, I'll be standing outside that coffee shop, trying to decide whether to walk in or walk away. Whatever I choose will determine the rest of my life, and I honestly don't know which choice is the right one. What would you do in my place?